am so thrilled to be here with you all. This is our 1 hour masterclass on the power of wholeness, reclaiming your sovereign self. So I found this quote by Audre Lorde and I really loved it. So I'm sharing it with you on wholeness. She says, I find I'm constantly being encouraged to pluck out some one aspect of myself and present this as the meaningful whole, eclipsing or denying the other parts of self. So that just seemed very apt for our conversation today. Heather's here. Hi, Heather. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here. All right. So today we're going to do just a couple things, 4 main activities. We're going to meet and do an intro. Most of you know each other. Most of you know me. We're going to explore a little bit. What is wholeness? We're going to do some repatterning and reclaiming. Going to have an experience where we do a very simple wholeness map and guided visualization. And I will make the slides available to anybody who is interested in receiving them. We'll talk about that later. We'll do a recap and we'll do a Q&A. But ultimately, there are no rules here. We just have some agreements that I normally share, which is, this is for you. This is something that I'm sharing with you. Hey, Joe, nice to see you. I'm sharing this with you because I have come to understand that purpose and power and wholeness are all linked. And my mission is to help create spaces and opportunities for wonderful people to reclaim all of those things. So wholeness is a great basis for starting that. And my goal is to empower you and to give you frameworks. I'm always about practical information that you can apply in your life. So again, we'll not just talk about it, but we'll actually have an opportunity for you to experience it and do it and bring it into your life. So are there any questions about what we're going to do? All right, we're going to talk about inside things and outside things. Please feel free, if you feel moved, to share. This is a masterclass, so it is something that I'm sharing, but definitely am used to having an interactive environment. So if you feel moved or you have an insight, what I found is that when people share, all of us benefit, because usually what people share has something to do with something that maybe you're experiencing, or you're going to hear something in what somebody shares that resonates with you that I couldn't possibly think of to say. So I find it's a richer experience. Please feel empowered to use the chat or to take yourself off mute or to raise your hand. All of it is welcome, but not required. All right, let's keep going. Warm up. Have you ever had an experience that knocked your plans off course? I've had many of these. First of all, was just going to tell you a little bit about my background, my story, something that I'm starting to share because I realize that helps to contextualize the information that comes. So my career has been my biggest shock. I'm the poster child for a nonlinear career, and I never expected my career path to shift from music. Here I am. This is me here with the red curly hair, to becoming an arts leader, then shifting to management consulting. You know, I love my sticky notes, and to a spiritual awakening and reconnecting with my energy healing background to do what I call now, which is business healing. So that was a pretty big shock. But what I love about all of those experiences, all of those segments of my career, is that they have helped me continue to grow and evolve as a person and as a coach, as a consultant, as a healer. These are all things that I am able to share with you. And I feel like, again, when I'm working with anybody individually, it's almost like I am tapping into a collective, because I find that most of us are going through similar things at the same time. So when we work together or when we share, we are often resonating with things that are happening elsewhere. Okay. So interested in volunteers, again, this is not required. And if no one volunteers, I have a plan for that. But if you feel moved, feel free to raise your hand or respond in the chat if you had a moment that made you realize that there was something important you were here to do, but you were scared to do, or maybe didn't know how to do. And if you talked to me when I was 18, I would have said, I don't know how to run a business, let alone help other people run theirs. So that's just an example. Anyone feel moved to share? Let's hear.
I mean, similarly to you, Marta, I also made a career change, somewhat similar one. I was a musician and now I'm in law school. And actually, this is still, I'm in my third year now. And I know that there is something important I think I am here to do. And I'm not sure that I'm still on track yet. And I definitely have fears about trying to put myself on track. And I know I've discussed it before with Marta, and I know she's helped me a lot. Still really trying to overcome that. So, yeah.
Wow, amazing. Thank you for your share. That's so powerful. Yeah, leaning into a different field once you have committed to one, and there's a lot of expectations, inside, outside pressures, possible judgment. That's my experience leaving music as a full-time endeavor. And yeah, what's on the other side of L3? I mean, I have no doubt it's going to be beautiful and amazing, and you're going to lean into it. And the cool thing is, there's community in making scary things happen and leaning into decisions that you don't know where they're going to go. I have a friend who tells me regularly, Marta, every time we talk, I know you're going to tell me something terrifying, like you're getting a divorce or moving to DC to take a fellowship with no future job prospects on the other side of it, or you're moving to Miami to see what that's like. So I feel that, and I thank you for your courage and for your share. Anyone else like to share? Tiffany.
I always love to talk. So
Okay.
I think for me, and Marta, you watched me go through this, was when, I the whole idea of working with nonprofits was always something that I loved to do, but the whole idea of not having a full-time job and being a full-time consultant was very overwhelming. And so obviously I made the leap, but it was really scary. Like, didn't have a paycheck coming in. And
Yeah.
it was the best decision I made.
Yay.
But it was definitely, a scary decision, and it took me many years to make it, but I did, and it's good.
For sure. And look at you now. If anybody does not know Tiffany, she is a master team builder and a master fundraiser. And she is an absolutely stellar resource in so many ways. So if you have any desire to get to know her, put it in the chat, let me know, send me a DM here, and I'm happy to connect you. She's absolutely tremendous, as are all of you. And she's here on the eve of Give Miami Day, spending time and space with us. So grateful.
I felt like I needed this. I needed it because of Give Miami Day.
Good to reclaim wholeness in such a busy week. Thank you. And yeah, it is scary to go out on your own. I felt that too. It's like, what am I going to do for money? Will there be anything on the other side of this? So yeah, big leap. Leticia, tell us what's on your mind. Tell us about your experience.
So as usual, I had to think backwards, and I did the whole, like, let me go on my own kind of first, or when I was young enough to not worry. And then I shifted to working in big groups. But this has happened to me in different ways, obviously, and at different times in my life. But I did want to bring something up that's a little different, but in the same vein. So I've had a moment where my entire body, and Marta, you know this, where my entire body was screaming. And I knew that the important thing for me to do was to exit in an unhealthy situation, professional situation. And I had a very deep knowing of that. And yet I either was too scared, too ashamed to do anything. And also I kept trying to fix the situation that wasn't mine to fix in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to offer like a different version of an answer to this question.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Thank you. Fixing what's not ours. That is, I deeply resonate with that deeply. and being in the position of fixing things that aren't yours for a living while also doing that work inside. That's like so many layers. So I'm 100% with you. Yeah, Joe.
Hi everyone. Well, the thing for me is I think right now I'm at that point where I'm like in the back of my head, like there's this huge thing that it's like, you know what you have to do, Joe. And then like you like I want to explore more my passions and my creativity. But then it's like then like all the fears come. It's like I don't want to be on social media, or I don't like to be exposed, or I don't like to do X thing, right? But then everything that I really want to do requires all of that. So it's all of that. And then I'm also like, I know that to reach like this, let's say next level, I need help. Like I need a team. In my mind, it looks wonderful. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have my therapist, and like a spiritual guide, and like a business mentor. But then it's like, where are you gonna get all this? This
Yeah.
requires money. So it's like I feel like I'm in that point where I'm like, you need to prioritize this. You need to do this so I can feel whole and I can feel like happy and just doing that thing that's been on my mind for years.
Oh, I love it.
So because like one of the biggest like changes in my life has been like when I moved to the US 8 years ago. So it's been like 8 years of a lot of changes and adjusting to a new country and all of that. But now I feel like you're not in survival mode anymore, kind of. So you can do more fun stuff. But then
Oh my gosh.
the hard part, and that's the challenge. That's when I'm here.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that. Knowing that there's a thing that you're meant to do and then actually doing it, and knowing what the vision is at the end, and then working backwards. It's like, how do I get there? Wow. And knowing you need people and resources and all those things, and knowing that's not where you are right now. Yeah, I'm 100% with you in all those ways. I changed my business name. I changed the nature of my business and just was going to see what happened. But here we are. We're all on this call about wholeness, and I'm here for it because you're not alone. I've been where you are, all of you. And I see you, and I appreciate and applaud your courage, because I think the very first step toward wholeness is courage. It's probably awareness and then courage, but courage nonetheless. And there's a whole community here on this call that is all about that too. So thank you for everybody who shared. For those of you who didn't share, I know that has prompted things for you. So thank you for coming along with us and doing your part as well. Okay, so let's explore. What is wholeness? According to Google, wholeness is two things. It's a noun. It's the state of forming a complete and harmonious whole. I'm not sure why they underline harmonious, but great. And unity. So the work lacked a sense of wholeness and meaning. Probably most of us have had a job in which that was true. And number two, the state of being unbroken or undamaged. I had not really thought about a state of being unbroken or undamaged. I more think of it as something that's like, rather than avoiding something negative, it's something that is like full and complete and positive. So the wholeness of the buildings is exceedingly well preserved. The idea of the frame of destruction is very interesting. Thank you, Google. We learn from you, and that probably has to do with metadata that we're not seeing. So, all right. So for me, wholeness means claiming my messiness, my not being where I want to be, the things I struggle with. This has been a very powerful step because it recognizes that we are all evolving. I'm evolving, you're evolving. When you go on a journey of wholeness and healing, you start to recognize when things are healed for you, you may start to see them in other people, but because you've healed that part, you can kind of have some distance and discernment and say like, oh, I see that, but that's like, I'm not going to get drawn into it or suffer because of it. So we're all evolving. Messiness is part of life. For me, it's also moving toward fullness, satisfaction, and joy. So when I think of wholeness, it's just being the good parts. It's being, and it is not apologetic in any way. It's also recognizing I am more than my body, what I think, what I feel, what I experience, what's happened to me. I am much more than just what I think and feel in my senses. That is a huge, huge thing. And I cannot say how powerful that reaffirmation has been in my journey of wholeness. Just, you are not your body. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You're not what's happened to you. You're not what other people tell you you are. You're not what your parents expect. Like, you are a sovereign being. And I think for me, it's also about remembering that I'm here for a purpose. For a lot of years, I thought that was music. Then I thought that was arts management. Then I thought that was, fundraising support. And it is all of those things, because it's through those things that I become who I am now. And there's likely like another chapter on the other side of this. But the purpose is being my whole self, and in that space, providing and holding space for others and helping them reclaim their purpose or have the courage to go out and claim it. And then for me, it's also adopting expansiveness as a habit of mind. I have a lot of friends, and there are people in my family who focus on the, not the expansiveness, but the constrictedness. So rather than expanding, which I feel like has always been my thing, again, that friend who says, I feel like you're going to tell me something terrifying, expansiveness is going to happen because the universe is expanding and we're part of that. But when I think about expansiveness, I think about as above, so below. This is a Hermetic principle. It's a spiritual principle. And for me, that just means that if I want wholeness in my life, I have to be whole. Otherwise, wholeness doesn't happen. So as above, so below, as within, so without. What is happening around us is a reflection of our inner state. If you follow the law of attraction, all of these things will sound very familiar. If these are new ideas, that's also fantastic. So think about what's happening in your mind, what's happening in your heart. That is usually what's happening around you. When you don't have time for peace inside, there's very little peace outside. When you are stressed inside, usually you meet stress outside. When you start to feel and claim a sense of wholeness here inside, you start to get wholeness and results on the outside. But it's a bit of a different kind of thing to think about wholeness as a practice, to think about it as a habit of mind, something you're engaging in on purpose. So part of what we're going to be doing tonight is I'll be sharing some practices for that and some frameworks for kind of thinking about this. I am a thinky person. I also am a body-oriented person, and a heartful person, and a spiritual person. All of those levels are important. And as we go through, there may be a particular sense that resonates with you more than the others. Maybe it's your body, maybe it's your feelings, maybe it is your mind, maybe it is your spiritual self. We're here for all of it. So by no means is any of the things that we're talking about tonight meant to be exclusive or only focusing on one area. If there's something that really resonates, go with that and explore it, because there's probably something there for you. So why do you seek wholeness? For me, it's been moving towards self-actualization, feeling more at ease, more powerful, more certain. When I'm not feeling whole, I do not feel certain. I do not know what I'm doing. I do not feel confident. I also think that we move toward wholeness in order to feel complete, to feel full. And the seeking, when you start to practice wholeness, you stop seeking answers elsewhere. Like, oh, when I get to this stage, finally I'll have that wholeness. Or when I meet this person, or I get this deal done, or I surpass this bank account number. When we're seeking, we're not in wholeness. So wholeness is about finally enjoying life. It's also being able to claim kind of affirmation and validation, again, from the inside. When we're whole on the inside, we stop seeking validation and affirmation from elsewhere. What I've discovered is that when that stuff comes from outside, case in point as a musician, when people are like, oh, that was so great, you sounded so nice, I'm just like inside, are you serious? But I realized that when I can feel like, oh, being honest with myself, that part was really expressive, or that was a little sharp. That's not necessarily criticism, it's just honesty. And when I feel like I claim my own sense of appreciation for myself, it just feels more natural and more true than when I hear it from others. And wholeness is also about claiming joy and satisfaction. Any other thoughts about why you particularly seek wholeness, and feel free to use the chat or whatever. And we don't have to share every time. These are mainly, some of them are rhetorical questions. So I am going to move on. All right, so now I would like a volunteer. What does wholeness look like for you? Okay, Jamie's first thought is rest. Wholeness looks like rest. I think that's beautiful. When we are rested, we have more of an opportunity, more of a likelihood to be acting from our fullness rather than from our depletion or from our threadbare emotions or whatever the rest has been restoring. When we are restored, we have more to give. I love that. Anyone else? Okay, chat. We've got joyfulness, Ezekiel. Yeah, joyfulness is a state. I always think about, so I do energy work, the heart chakra and the solar plexus chakra. Those are kind of energies that work together, but I find that solar plexus is where you hold your stress, and your heart center is where you hold your heart energy, where you hold love and expansiveness and joy and all of those higher emotions. I find that those two things have an inverse relationship. When you are in joy, when you're in joyfulness or flow, thank you, Melissa, serene and energized and all of those things that we have happening in the chat, thank you very much. We are not stressed. So wholeness for me means connecting with heart energy. When you're in true heart energy, stress doesn't exist. When you're truly serene, when you're truly in flow, when you're truly joyful, there's no room for that stress energy. So I love all of this. This is great. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to get to some of the activity part of the session. So let's talk about anchors of wholeness. And what do I mean by anchors? When we are doing inner work and we don't have a methodology to do that, which a lot of what I share is frameworks and methodologies to do inner work. I find that a lot of people do inner work, or they learn to do inner work through a religious context or a spiritual context. I don't resonate with organized religion as much as I did when I was growing up, because it was the thing that I knew at the time. But I'm a very free thinker, and I like to question things. And I think that in some religious practices, that's very much encouraged, and others it's not. So everything is fine for everybody. But for me, I have found an inner work practice that I have created out of my own spiritual practice and also just my own self-inquiry. I like to learn how to think for myself, and really, I've been unlearning some things. So for me, it's like when we're doing inner work, how do we ground that self-inquiry? How do we ground questioning maybe some habits of mind that we've got into? So for me, I'm all about anchors. So today we're talking about anchors of wholeness. Why? So that as you move forward in your journey toward reclaiming wholeness, so that you can be your purpose and fearless and whole and serene and joyful and all of those things, we want to know how we can replicate success. I'm a musician, which means that I'm process oriented. I'm not necessarily outcome oriented. So for me, process is way more important than outcomes and results and SMART goals. SMART goals are fine and everything. But for me, it's like the process and showing up for the process is the most impactful and the most logical and likely pathway for success. If you have an anchor and you're showing up for yourself and you're giving yourself a process whereby you can practice. Practice is not perfection, but practice does help you move through challenges and get to the other side by going through, not around. And you have to take responsibility when you do process oriented. So anchors are to give you process. Okay. So wholeness is self-work, and that's why we're here, because when we are doing wholeness, it's actually very rewarding. So I found that for me, there are three main anchors of wholeness, and these are the what. What of wholeness can anchor us? What are we looking for? What's motivating us? So for me, that boils down to three things. By no means is what I'm sharing with you exhaustive or accurate. I encourage you to question it and test it and see how it works for you. But again, just sharing what I've learned. So for me, when I feel whole, I am adequate. I feel adequate and I feel secure. I feel abundant, and I feel like I can accept myself, and I can accept others. When I'm not in wholeness, those things are very hard. So I look at those as like anchors for my inner life. If I'm not feeling adequate or secure, abundant, or being able to accept myself and others, I'm not anchored in my wholeness. And then the how is just like, how can these anchors be expressed? So physically, mentally, emotionally, interpersonally, which is again what happens with us in connection with other people, and then spiritually. Any questions so far? I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you. It is a masterclass, so if we're going too fast, you let me know. Otherwise, we'll keep going. So this is the main framework we're going to build on today. And this is the main tool. I encourage you to take a screenshot of this. Get your phone, take a screenshot. If you're on your phone, screenshot as well. This is the thing that is going to be the most valuable, I think, for you that comes out of this masterclass. So just walk you through this here. Anchors of wholeness are the what? I've already described that. So I want you to think about when wholeness is going well for you, when you are feeling like you're in your wholeness and you're able to be in that space of joyfulness or serenity or flow or whatever it happens to be. What does that look like? What does adequacy and security look like? What does abundance look like? And what does acceptance of self and others look like? And then also when it's not going well. And again, there's really no judgment here. It's more to say, like, when you're feeling it or when you're not feeling it, it's not meant to be like, this is negative or this is positive. It's just experience, right? Everything is valuable, whether it feels good or not. We're just looking at tools for self-inquiry and to anchor our analysis of self here. So what does it look like when wholeness is happening? And what does it look like when wholeness is not happening? And this is a worthwhile exercise to revisit after this class, because we're not going to give you loads of time to go through this, because there's other things we want to do. But this is an important practice. And I offer a mini retreat at the end of the year. This is part of the work that we do. But if you're not doing something like that, and again, you don't have an inner anchor for this kind of inquiry, then you can return to this annually, monthly. You can have a retreat with yourself every month, whatever. It's intended to be a tool that you can use to guide this. Wholeness for you looks like confidence. Yay. Okay, excellent, Kaylin. Thank you. Thank you for not texting while driving. We appreciate that. Awesome. All right. Now, second part of this chart is getting into the how. So let's boil down adequacy, security, abundance, and acceptance into what does that look like physically, mentally, emotionally, interpersonally, and spiritually. And maybe you pick one and return to this later so that we can kind of like not get overwhelmed. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but maybe we pick emotionally. So when wholeness is going well, you feel adequate, secure, abundant, and accepting. Emotionally, it might feel like trusting yourself. It might feel like completion. It might feel, and like, let's go to some of the thinky things. Like it might feel like security of ideas. It might feel like ideas that feel really good, or ideas about other people that feel really good. When you think about abundance, like abundance mentally to me feels like I can grasp that money is flowing and money will come in and money will come out. And, you know, it's something that is a cyclical thing, and I can take joy in, you know, having it come in and having it come out. So just some ideas to get us going here. And then think about mentally, physically, emotionally, interpersonally, spiritually, when wholeness is not happening, what is happening with you? So when it is happening, what is going on physically, mentally, emotionally, interpersonally, spiritually? Again, maybe pick one. And then when wholeness is not happening, how does that look? And I do this kind of binary work just so we have an idea of wholeness. When we look at wholeness, we cannot only look at what we want. We have to look at what's happening, because unless we look at what's happening and where we want to be, we won't notice kind of where the gap is. Okay, so when it's going well, she is sexy, knowing, she's got joy, she's allowing, she's generous, serene and energetic, producing and building, magnetic and irresistible. Woo! Amazing. And I love these words because a lot of times we don't use them about ourselves. We associate them with other people, like, oh, that person really produces a lot, or that person looks joyful, or wow, that person's super generous. But when we start to notice the qualities of when it's going well inside us, and we can start to recognize what that feels like, and then when it doesn't, it's not happening, we can start to use our inner cues and the way that we have explored and become familiar with ourselves in order to move toward that thing that we want. I find that a lot of people, myself included, tend to focus on the 5 to 10 to 20% of things in life that are not where they want them to be. And so the not going well category gets to be pretty much 80% of the conversation, when really you want to focus on the 20%. If you're going to call more wholeness in, you want to flip that equation so that the wholeness is 80% and the not so whole parts are 20%. You're not going to always be in one or the other, but it's just good awareness here to plot out where you are, where it feels like when it's not going well, when it's going well, when you're experiencing wholeness, when you're not experiencing wholeness. Because then we have something we can act on. So being able to have a good night's sleep without my head spinning about what I need to get done. Yeah, that is not wholeness. That is definitely stress energy. So that's when things are not going in a whole direction. Yeah. So, and that's a mental thing. That's a mental thing. Spiraling. I'm familiar with it. And again, unless we're aware of what wholeness doesn't feel like, we don't have a choice that we're conscious of that we could make. Ooh, creating layers to protect your body. Amazing. Cool. All right, let's keep going. Oh, you can also go into lockdown mode. Tell us what lockdown mode means.
I'm a freeze.
Okay.
So right, flight, freeze. And so the freeze is real strong and deep, especially after lockdown and the pandemic. And so what's happening now is that when, there's war somewhere and atrocities and whatever, it's not agoraphobia, but I go into lockdown mode. Like I want to have my supplies at home and I don't leave my apartment. And
yeah, so resourcing self, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. Yeah, just self-protection. I don't know where we thought that we needed to suffer, where we got that message, but a lot of people have that as something that they learned from very well-meaning people who wanted to protect them. And that's okay. But it's also, we get to now look at what we're exploring now and question, like, is it okay to nurture self? Of course it's okay to nurture self. So when that's going well, like, and we can embrace that, and that's absolutely fantastic. So thank you for that. Okay, more laughter, better sleep, and eating habits. Trusting and saying yes to connections. Yes. And going back to what Joe was saying, like maybe, being seen is what it actually looks like when it's going well. Having courage to share, having courage to be seen, doing your purpose and that kind of thing. Amazing. All right. So these are some ideas. This is my sample chart just for other ideas. One thing that I've been learning about lately is healthy boundaries. When it's going really well, I feel like I am not resentful because I haven't told somebody that this thing is really important to me, and then they didn't do that thing, or they took advantage of a thing, but I didn't say anything. So really I'm suffering in silence, and the other person is totally clueless. So healthy boundaries are an act of, being able to be adequate and secure, to be abundant, and to be accepting of self and others. So, right. Yeah. Hydration is important for wholeness. All right. So now I'm going to toss it to you. Take a moment and write down one area in which you'd like to practice or reclaim wholeness. And this could be physically, mentally, emotionally, interpersonally, spiritually. It could be simple. It could just say, I'm going to hydrate. But this is forming an intention for like, what is something that you would actually like to make yours in terms of wholeness? And then once you have that, what that area is, why do you feel less than whole in this area right now? Like, what is it that's happening that is causing the less than wholeness? And we're doing this just like gentle self-inquiry. There's no shame, there's no judgment. This is just like you're looking down at a map. You're just seeing where things are and you're just analyzing like what's happening. There's absolutely no judgment. So where do you want to feel more whole? Why do you feel less than whole? Okay, then we'll go to, and we're building now. So we're going deeper, deeper, deeper. What's one thing you can do to feel more secure, abundant, or accepting to create or experience more wholeness? And these are ones that have come up for me lately: surrender, trust, accept, let go, etc. It depends on what that thing is that you wanted to call in. Creativity flows, no second guessing. Yes. So what we're doing now is we're like analyzing the conditions in which wholeness can take root. So what is the thing? Why isn't it complete wholeness? Like what could be going on in the background? And then what's one action that you can take in order to experience that? So how can we kind of reshape or reframe or set the conditions on purpose for wholeness to take root? More time for spontaneity. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. When we are scheduled to the hilt, we do not have time for flow. We do not have an opportunity for messiness. We don't have any opportunity for rest or play or something extraordinary to happen. So I love that. And that's a good reminder for me too. So thank you for that. So once you have the one action or the one thing you can do, and the one thing, by the way, can be 3 minutes of breathing. You have a phone, you can put your phone on 3 minutes and just breathe. One thing that I've been doing is I put my phone on alarms twice a day to remember the feeling of wholeness in my body and to remember how it feels in my body. And when I'm experiencing it in my body, how it also feels in my heart, and just like taking up space inside myself with wholeness. So second part here is minimum commitment you can make to claim more wholeness in this area. And again, I want this to be practical. I want you to know, what are the conditions like? What are the actions you can take to create those conditions? And then what's the minimum commitment? I want you to be able to walk out of this doing it. So for me, that's 3 minutes of putting my phone on alarm and saying, all right, we're gonna feel it now. People here are saying meditation and being more intentional. Great. So now it's like, how much meditation? What is intentional? Like, what's the minimum viable product when it comes to those actions? Emotional confidence, decreasing reliance on acceptance from family and friends to make me feel loved and appreciated. That's amazing. So it's like, what is now the antidote to that? What is the action, or what is the thought, or what is the emotional practice that you can create for yourself? And like how many minutes, how many days a week? I like to say you can start anything with 3 minutes, and it can be just between you and you. No one else needs to know that you are going into this self-study and condition creating. But what is your minimum commitment? And then also, we're not operating in a vacuum. So is there an accountability partner? Is there a cat you can talk to let them know that you're going to be doing this thing, which you're not really sure is going to work out, but you're going to give it a try because you like experimenting? Because what is the risk is we become more whole. So I do encourage experimentation. Create a practice. That's really what we're doing. We're creating practice because, like an athlete or like a musician or like any sort of artist, when you show up for yourself, you get results 100% of the time. And 100% of the time that you focus on investing in yourself, you will get results 100% of the time. So what is your minimum commitment to your wholeness? to practice it and create the practice to bring into your life so that you're living more wholeness. Finding and connecting with like-minded people, amazing theme of the week. I love these ideas. And yeah, whose help can you enlist? Because and feel free to send me a text. I'm down to be like, I'm here. I hear what you're saying. I think it's great. Or let's do an 8-minute phone call. That's one of my favorite new things. Connecting with people is just like, I don't need an hour Zoom meeting. Let's just do an 8-minute phone call. You don't have to be, sitting at your desk. You don't have to have makeup and you don't have to be showered. We could just connect as human beings. So whose help can you enlist? And then make your plan. So now that you have, what are the conditions? What are the actions I can take to create those conditions? What's my minimum commitment? Whose help have I got? Make your plan. And yeah, there are plenty of people on this call who are willing to be enlisted, myself included. All right, so energy follows thought. We're going to do a very brief guided visualization because where our thoughts flow, our energy goes. So we're going to do some energy moving, and I will be sharing a visualization. Does anyone have any questions before we go ahead and do that? So this is just a moment in time. And again, you have the ability to watch the recording, but for this, I invite you to close your eyes. And I'm going to take 3 deep breaths and I'm going to hold in the middle. So I'll guide you through that if you'd like to follow along. If not, just do what makes you feel comfortable. So I'm going to breathe in and hold and breathe out. Hold. Breathing in. Hold. And out. Hold. And last time, breathing in. Hold. And breathing out. Hold. And now, bring your attention to your heart center. Remember a happy moment, a moment when something was happening that made you happy. Re-experience those feelings of happiness. Remember the sweetness. Remember those feelings. Smile at your heart center and wait for the response. Remember another happy moment, another time when something's happening that made you happy. And smile at your crown center. Your crown center is a being of light. Crown center is connected with your wholeness. It's a powerful co-creator with you. Now I invite you to travel up from your heart, feeling beautiful, brilliant, white, or maybe even golden or pink light, traveling up to your throat and past your shoulders, into your neck, into your throat, into your jaws, spreading beautiful relaxation, a sense of peace, a sense of wholeness, up through your jaws and your nose and your ears, up through your brain, your forehead, the center of your brain, your right brain, your left brain, your middle brain, your whole brain, up, up, up to the crown of your head. And as you travel up, this beautiful pink, white, or gold radiant light goes with you. I invite you to bring this light up past your crown. Imagine a flame or a star top of your head, maybe 6 or 12 inches above your head, and pull this light up with you to that place. And notice how it feels from up here, slightly outside the body, connected with this golden radiant light, this pink light, this radiant white light, pure positive energy. And from this place, reconnect with a sense of wholeness. From this perspective, what does wholeness feel like? What does radiance mean from this perspective? Maybe even imagine a challenge to your wholeness from this perspective. What do you notice? You can even keep going up, 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 where you're distant from the day-to-day, the things that happen. And keep going up. From this place, you have a higher perspective. Self-appreciation is something available. Perspective literally is different from up here. Continue to feel the sense of joy, of fullness, of completeness, of self-sufficiency. Notice even what self-trust feels like from up here. Is there any gap between you and all the ways that you identified wholeness? Embody this wholeness. Feel it. Sense it. What sensations do you notice? Do you hear anything? Do you smell anything? Engage your senses from this higher perspective, with the intention of remembering what wholeness feels like for you from this higher perspective. Make an intention to remember this wholeness and to carry it with you into the practice that you've created. And notice if there are any doubts or any, what will happen if, or how do I, and just allow those to melt away. This place in you is part of you and is also outside you. As above, so below. What is it about this place that has possibilities we can learn from and bring back down into our consciousness on a daily basis? And just swim in this beautiful energy of peace and wholeness. Keep noticing those sensations. And maybe there's a message or a wish that comes to mind, or an image. It may not make sense, but if there's a message or a piece of information you've been looking for, imagine it's coming to you now. Make the intention to remember it. Again, it may not make sense, but it's all just information. And from this place of gratitude and appreciation for our fullness, our wholeness, including our expanded perspective, let's go ahead and bring the beautiful radiant light down, 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 back down, 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 down. Imagine passing through that flame or that star on the top of your head, back down through your crown, down through your brain, left brain, right brain, middle brain, down past your eyes and your nose, your throat, your mouth, back down through your shoulders and your chest, back down to your heart center. Imagine pulling this radiant light down, pink, gold, or white. Notice the trail it's left, and notice it returning to your heart, and that this place in your heart is always available to you to reignite and use as a portal back to the sense of wholeness. And thank the light, right? Thank your crown. Thank your heart center. And when you're ready, you take 3 final breaths. Breathing in, hold, and out. And hold. In and out. And last one in and out. Right. Thank you for that. So welcome back. How did you feel? What did you notice? What questions do you have? If you had a message that came through, be sure to write it down. What was that like to experience wholeness or to experience something outside of your body that was connected to your own energy? Peaceful. Very nice. Loving. Yeah, beautiful. So what I think is interesting and important about that activity is that when you're seeking wholeness, those words that come to mind first are probably your set point for experiencing wholeness. So if you're not feeling whole, you can quickly go to peace. You can quickly go to love. You can quickly go to hope. Because if those are the things that came to you first as a way of describing, you can also always, as a shortcut, kind of tune into the way those feel for you. I love that. All right, now we're wrapping up. So love is the name for our pursuit of wholeness, for our desire to be complete. That is ancient writing by Plato. And my mission as business healer is to help people using energy and strategy. Most of you know me, so I'm going to skip this next part. I have a couple of programs that are coming up. I have a new group program, which is a group energy mentorship. It's going to start in the end of January. It's going to include weekly coachings, one-on-one coachings and group calls, and an energy radiance beauty treatment, which is also good for men. But it's going to be an amazing new program. It's going to be very much flow. And then my New Year guided mini retreat is also coming up in January. That's a beautiful practice. Many of you have joined me for multiple years. So more about that soon. These are the places to follow me. If you don't already do that, new website is thebusinesshealer.com. And if you are not on my mailing list and you would like to subscribe to my newsletter, get today's slide deck, go ahead and capture the QR code. There's a simple form, MailChimp form, to sign up for that. So I'm grateful for all of you, and I will be sending out the recording so that everybody has access to it. I am so, so thankful for you being here tonight, going through this exploration. Are there any final takeaways about what you got out of tonight's workshop? I'd be super interested in hearing them, but I'm super grateful you made the time to be with me tonight. So thankful for you, and I hope you practice wholeness and let me know what happens. Thank you, Kaylin. Love the work you do and how you help us tap into our inner needs and guides so effortlessly. Sorry, I was talking over somebody. Please feel free to unmute yourself again.
I just said thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. I'm so glad it was helpful. Much gratitude and love to you all. And I will see you another time. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.